I stood in the bridal suite, adjusting the hem of my dress and taking a deep breath. The room smelled faintly of roses, soft and calming, and my bridesmaids buzzed around me, fixing hair, adjusting veils, and offering words of encouragement. Outside, the world waited for me to step into what should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, a knot of tension had settled in my chest. My parents were here, physically, but their hearts and minds were elsewhere, dismissive, judgmental, ready to belittle the choices I had made. When my mom finally appeared, she glanced at me, her laugh cutting through the quiet. "So, you're really doing this? Walking down alone like you have no family?" Her tone was sharp, dismissive. My dad chuckled beside her. "Guess that's what happens when you marry a nobody," he added. My hands trembled slightly, but I lifted my chin and met her gaze. "Then I'll walk myself," I said calmly. "My name is Clara, and I'm 26. I teach at a middle school in an underserved community, a job I love more than I ever thought possible. I care deeply for my students, for the small victories and the big dreams, the ones society often forgets. Today, I was marrying Daniel, a man whose heart is as vast as his dedication. He mentors at-risk teens, organizes community programs, and works tirelessly without expecting recognition. He's not wealthy, he's not flashy, but he is kind, intelligent, and entirely devoted to making the world better. One child, one neighborhood, one life at a time. My parents, obsessed with status and appearances, never understood. They had tried to sway me, subtly and overtly. Money, prestige, power. They wanted me to marry someone with a big career, a fancy house, a name people recognized. My older brother Todd had followed that path. A lawyer, a big home, the family's pride. I had chosen differently. I had chosen love. I had chosen purpose. My parents saw it as rebellion, failure, and embarrassment. They tried to bribe me to wait, to abandon Daniel, to settle for someone more suitable. I refused every time. I sent the invitations. I prepared to stand by my choice. The bridal suite was small but beautiful, filled with soft light streaming through lace curtains. My bridesmaids surrounded me, lending calm and reassurance. The familiar buzz of excitement was comforting, but when my parents arrived, late as usual, the atmosphere shifted. My mother barely looked at my dress, a simple yet elegant gown that reflected my style. "It's simple," she muttered. Dad scanned the room, frowning. "This venue is smaller than I expected." I forced a smile. "It's perfect for us," I said, trying to keep my own excitement intact. Mom's voice was flat, judgmental. "For you, maybe." My bridesmaids exchanged uncomfortable glances, sensing the tension. Jenna, my best friend, tried to redirect. "Clara, you look beautiful." But my mother ignored her. "Turn to me," she said, voice sharp. "It's not too late to postpone. Your father and I talked. We could help you plan something better, with someone better." My stomach sank. The ceremony was in 20 minutes. "Mom, I'm getting married today," I said firmly. Dad crossed his arms. "This Daniel guy, he's got no future. You're settling." Mom scoffed. "Good doesn't pay bills." Their words were sharp, designed to wound. And yet, even as my hands curled into fists, my voice remained steady. "Then I'll walk myself," I said. A knock at the door interrupted the tension. The photographer peeked in. "Ready for family photos before the ceremony?" Silence. Dad checked his watch. "We need to talk about the aisle walk," he said, tone calculating. My heart lifted briefly, a spark of hope that maybe they'd come around. But when he spoke next, the coldness in his voice froze me. "Your mother and I decided we're not comfortable walking you down. It would feel like endorsing this mistake." My breath caught. "You're serious?" Mom waved her hand dismissively, her laugh cruel. "Don't be dramatic. Walk yourself. Guess that's what happens when you marry a nobody." Dad joined in, a bitter echo of her words. Jenna stepped forward to defend me, but Mom cut her off. I took a steadying breath. my hands shaking but my resolve solid. Then I'll walk myself. They shrugged and left to take their seats, leaving a silence that my bridesmaids tried to fill with comforting touches and whispers. But I didn't need comfort. I needed to prove something, not to them, but to myself. Minutes before the ceremony, my coordinator pulled me aside. Her face was apologetic. "I need to tell you something. Your parents called the venue 3 days ago. They tried to uninvite several of Daniel's guests." My chest tightened. "What?" She continued. "They claimed budget cuts, wanted to reduce the list. I ignored them because you booked everything. You handled it. Don't worry." I nodded, grateful for her honesty. It hurt, but I expected it. Standing behind the doors, waiting for my cue, I overheard my parents speaking in the corridor with my aunt. My mom's voice carried, frustrated. "This is humiliating. I told everyone she was dating a lawyer." My aunt's tone was gentler. "He seems nice." Dad interrupted sharply. "Nice doesn't matter. He works with delinquents, lives in a tiny apartment. This is what failure looks like." Mom's voice rose again. "Todd's wedding had a string quartet, a 5-course meal. This is a buffet." My hands clenched, fists tight, but I stood my ground. Jenna appeared beside me, squeezing my shoulder. "They can't diminish this," she whispered. The music swelled as my parents approached me one last time, a final attempt to sway me. Mom's face was serious, almost pleading. "I'm your mother. I'm trying to save you. From what? A life of struggle. You could have had everything." I looked at her steadily in the eyes. "I have everything, just not what you value." Her expression hardened. "Fine, walk alone. Let everyone see what you've chosen." She turned and walked away. The bridesmaids rallied around me, offering hugs and reassurance. I nodded, composed. The tears had dried. The music shifted to canon in D. Jenna led the way, walking down the aisle as maid of honor. And then it was my turn. I stood behind the closed doors, the coordinator giving a quiet nod through her headset. Guests were seated, the room brimming with anticipation. I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and stepped forward. Alone. No father, no mother, just me, in a simple, elegant dress, radiating calm strength. As I walked, I saw faces I hadn't expected, faces of respect and admiration, not judgment. Every seat was filled with people who truly mattered. Mayor Patterson in the 3rd row, Senator Williams beside him, the school superintendent, the chief of police, a renowned child psychologist who had partnered with Daniel's nonprofit, a nationally recognized activist, a best-selling author who had mentored me. They were here because of what Daniel and I had built together, the lives we had touched, the community we had strengthened. My parents' dismissal had blinded them to reality. Mom's face went pale. She leaned toward Dad. "Is that the mayor?" Dad's jaw tightened. No words. My steps continued, measured, proud. Daniel waited at the altar, eyes bright with pride and love. When we joined hands, the world felt still for a moment, centered around us, the commitment we had chosen freely. The ceremony was simple, honest, and beautiful. When we were pronounced married, applause filled the room. At the reception, my parents tried awkwardly to approach the dignitaries. Mom plastered a fake smile. "We're Clara's parents, so proud of her." Mayor Patterson shook her hand politely. "She's remarkable. Her work and Daniel's nonprofit have transformed the city." Mom's smile faltered. Later, they cornered me near the cake. "We didn't tell him he was so connected," Mom said. I looked her in the eye. "You didn't ask. You just assumed." Dad joined. You didn't realize I had built a life worth respecting, that Daniel and I actually mattered to people. You didn't care about my happiness. You cared about impressing your friends." Mom's eyes welled with tears, but I was done. I had walked alone, and I was fine. I turned back to Daniel. My parents stood speechless. The reception carried on, full of laughter, dancing, and joy. My parents left early, slipping out without a word. Todd stayed behind, later apologizing softly. "I should have stood up for you." I hugged him. "You're here now. That's enough." Weeks later, my mom texted asking to talk. I didn't respond immediately. Maybe someday, but not yet. Daniel and I settled into our life together, our modest apartment, a castle of love and purpose. I received the Teacher of the Year award the next month. Daniel cheered in the front row. My parents weren't there, and for the first time, it didn't hurt. I had built a life full of people who saw me, who valued me. I didn't need their approval. Walking down that aisle alone had been the most powerful act of my life. I had proven, to myself and to the world, that my worth wasn't defined by the people who refused to see it. If you've ever had to prove your worth to people who dismiss you, who laugh at your choices, hit subscribe and share your story in the comments.